Hello, I'm Alexandra Sleator, Career Accelerator. And what that means is that working together, we can make sure that you achieve your career aspirations faster than you would on your own. Working together, we can tackle a variety of challenges. So think about it. We can, of course, help you to progress your career. Whether that means devising a strategy that will ensure you win that promotion that you deserve, or helping you repackage your skills so that you can bid for a different type of role, maybe one with more responsibilities, or at least different ones that broadens your horizons. Of course, we can support you in your career right here and right now by helping you polish, refine, develop core skills around communication, conflict management, presentations, team effectiveness, and even leadership. And thirdly, we can help you with a career transition, whether it might mean returning to the workforce after a break so that you make a successful comeback, or whether it is in fact to redefine success so that you can embark on a new career that really fulfills you. The point is that working together, we will make sure that you achieve your career dreams in a time and cost-efficient way. So welcome to this monthly tutorial. And for those of you who watched the previous one, you may recall that we were talking about New Year resolutions and how to identify the right kind of New Year resolutions for you and to set them in a way that you have more of a chance to keep them. So my question to you now is, when you were working through on your New Year resolutions, did you have a chance to reflect on your job satisfaction? I'm asking you this because you see this video as well as the forthcoming one are going to deal with writing a noteworthy CV, one that stands out. An eye-catching cover letter as well will be covered, and of course interview preparation. So if you are happy in your job, then you can stop watching now and maybe bookmark this page so that when the times comes, this might be a reference for you when you want to update your CV. But if indeed you are thinking that maybe you're not exactly in the best place for you, then you might want to update your CV, and here I will share with you my top 5 tips about writing a CV that has lots of impact. So before I tell you about my tips, just a little bit of scene setting. What I fundamentally believe from my own experience, but also watching other hiring managers during my time in the corporate world, is that we hire people that have the competencies that match the skill set need that we have, but also we hire people, human beings, that we can imagine ourselves, having a chat with by the water cooler. And that also as line managers, that we imagine our staff, our existing team members, collaborating, chatting, working together with that person. So we're not just hiring a professional, we're hiring a person. So keep that in mind, because that'll be important that'll feed into the kind of tips that I'm going to give you. And actually, let's start now. So the first tip, I call it preview. And what I mean by that is your mission statement. Now, where is it, that mission statement? Well, it's at the top of the CV, just below your name and your contact details. So it's a short sentence, as short as possible, but if you want to make it more than one line, certainly don't make it more than 2 lines. And that mission statement is either a statement of intent. It tells the reader about what you're looking for in terms of position. It also can possibly tell the reader about a summary of your core competencies. Or it can actually be a mixture of both. Let me give you an example of a mission statement and of what it does and why you would want to have one. Innovative, quantitative analysts looking for his next challenge. That's actually a real-life example. Now, what does this statement tell the reader? Well, 3 things in my opinion. The first one, it tells them that they're going to read about that person's capacity for, but of course track record as well, of innovation. So the mission statement is flagging out some of the core themes that are going to run through the CV. You know, what are the core themes in that narrative that a CV effectively is about yourself? Second thing that this mission statement tells the reader is that they're going to read about the achievement of somebody who is a specialist in quantitative analysis. So, you know, that's pretty obvious, of course. And lastly, what they should find in the CV is evidence that this person is indeed ready for the next challenge, that they have the potential to do more than what they're doing now, and that they do deserve a broader remit, new responsibilities, or even a managerial position. So the mission statement serves as a primer for the reader, and it, in fact, I would suggest to you, influences their mindset as they're about to read the CV. And in doing that, you influence your reader, you really guide them, and you grab their attention. So it does a lot of good things, the mission statement. Now, the second tip is clarity. And that has to do with both the look, but also, of course, the content. So, for example, don't use funky fonts. The first problem with that is that in addition to looking a little bit odd and distracting people you know, away from the content, they might actually not always be supported by the printer, and in that sense you risk having problems when people print out your CV and you know, half of the page has disappeared. So clarity is about, first of all, words. You know, the kind of vocabulary that you use, and ideally you would use words that a 10-year-old can understand. Now, some of us have quite technical jobs, and so here the issue of jargon, of course, pops up. And my view is that make sure that if you are going to use jargon, you know that the recipient will have the technical understanding of this jargon. If you think, on the other hand, that you're sending your CV to a more lay person that has less experience of what this jargon means, you might want to use synonyms or just reframe it a little bit. I know it's an effort, but it will make sure that you're able to communicate with whatever kind of reader you have. The same thing around words that is very important is that if your CV is in response to an advert, or if you have been given, for example, by a recruiter a job description, you might want to tweak your CV to make sure that you use in your CV keywords that feature in the advert or in the job description. That way you create an echo between these two documents, your resume on the one hand and the advert or job description, that really already flags how nice a fit there is between you, your competencies, and what they're looking for. So those are the points around words that I wanted to share with you around that theme of clarity. A last point around clarity is sentences. Those should be short. If you think of a page, whether it's A4 or A3, and then of course taking away the margin to have the printable area, your sentences should not cover more than half the width of that printable area. If you start writing long sentences, the eye is simply going to get lost in the words, and you know, you'll basically lose your reader. The other thing around sentences is that, with the exception of the mission statement, which is written in the third person, everything else should be written in the first person, the implicit first person. So it's the present tense for something that's still going on, and it's the past tense for something you don't do anymore, but it's always I did this, I do that. And of course, because CVs are bulleted, you don't actually feature the I, it's did this, do that, but the tone is one of the first person. So that's my tip around clarity. Now we come to another point around words, which is about impact. The way that you get impact from your CV in terms of how you organize what you present is to use outcome words. Now, for those of you who've done CVs a lot or been researching, CV writing techniques, you will possibly have come across a recommendation to use action words. So what really is the difference here? Well, let me give you an example to make it more real. Let's imagine that we're reading the following line in a CV. Responsible for producing the monthly team activity reports. Now, this is fine, shows, the person has this little responsibility that they have. It sounds administrative. Okay. Now, the problem with that is that it's fairly dull, right? There's not a lot of excitement when I read that. I just know that this person is keeping busy. So, the action word recommendation would have us shorten the statement to go from responsible for producing, etc., to produced the monthly team activity report. So here you have an action word, and you can see how it grabs us more. Let's do it again. Responsible for producing the monthly team activity reports to produced the monthly team activity reports. Of course, I'm doing it a little bit emphatically, so I'm biasing it. But still, there is so much more energy in the word produced than responsible for producing. But you see, what I have an issue with is the following. When I read something like that, I know that I'm being told what the person is doing. I'm being told indeed that they're keeping busy. But I'm not being told about the value of that busyness. And so what's going on in my mind is, so what? Okay, so they're producing these reports, or they did produce those reports. And why should that matter to me? What is that really telling me? Why do I want to know about this? It's that so-called so what question that comes when you read something that describes what someone did. So I'm more interested in the how, and that's where the action words come in. Because the outcome words, apologies, are going to tell you about the value add from the activity. So here my suggestion is therefore not just to move away from responsible for monitoring to for producing to produced, but to actually say monitored the team's deliverables against its objectives. You see, that really fleshes out what was going on with this reporting activity and what was really at stake there, which is that this person was tracking in case there were any slippages and people were not meeting their objectives, and reporting that so that the team had a chance to correct and make sure that it kept itself on track. So that, while being still an administrative function kind of activity, is clearly more important, more value-adding than just this report producing that we were learning about. And what it also does to me is it starts making me think about what kind of person it took to be able to deliver this tracking, this gap monitoring, and what they were doing about it. I'm starting to wonder about that person and what they were doing. So again, the outcome words that I encourage you to use in your CV take you from the what you did to the how you did it. And in that sense, they enable you to really show the value that you contribute when you do what you do. And so here, in fact, that leads me nicely into my fourth tip, which I call preview. Because you see, when you use outcome words, you're effectively giving a preview of the kind of person you're going to be in the office and what you're going to be able to do for them. So here, let me make a parallel to what happens at the movies. So let's think outside the box here for a minute. When I go to the movies, and I suspect that might be the case for you too, I see those movie teasers, these short advertising that show you clips of the movie. And of course they want to encourage you to see the entire feature film. Now when these movie teasers, as they're called, work well, we're excited, maybe there's a sense of suspense, clearly our curiosity is aroused, and we say, I must not miss this film. When they don't work, they confuse us, they even possibly irritate us, we say, oh, what a turn-off, I'll make sure never to see this, movie. Or they simply bore us. Some of these teasers tell us too much, in fact, about the plot, and we feel like we've already seen the movie anyway. So, I want to encourage you to think about your CV as equivalent to these movie teasers. And in the States, it's often called preview of coming attractions. So that's what your CV, I think, needs to do. It needs to tell your reader enough about your plot, your narrative, what you're about, that they become curious to meet you and to find out more. You see, what the CV is going to do to them is it's going to start to make sure for them, to validate for them, that you have these competencies that they're looking for and that you are the professional that they could be hiring. But what's really going to create the differential is the curiosity they're going to have about you as a person, and the fact that they're going to say to themselves, I need to meet that person and find out really who they are and whether we could work together and whether we have a fit. And so by giving the equivalent of a preview of coming attractions, by using outcome words and having a very clear CV that does not confuse, where you have a strong mission statement that has caught their eye, but also, of course, is followed through in the body of the CV with something that resonates around the themes that were contained in your mission statement, you're really grabbing that reader and holding onto his or her attention. And indeed, that again leads me to my last and fifth tip, which is calibrate. Because what I've noticed about myself is that when I watch one of these movie teasers and I find them confusing, like I said, it's a complete turn-off. But when they're a little bit too long as well and they tell me too much, I get just very, very bored. So here, my last parallel between the movie teaser and the CV is going to be around the size of your CV. And I spent most of my career with a one-page CV. And I actually lived for 23 years with just one-page CV. And it's only now that I have a second career that I have 2 pages on my CV. So my advice to you is keep it short, keep it snap. Don't give away too much, because you need to tease them into wanting to find out more. And then the interview will give you the platform to share appropriately more of what you can do and what you are and how, of course. So for an experienced professional, by all means, 2 pages, but not more. I have on occasions worked with folks who had, for example, published a lot, and so it made sense to have a 3rd page as an annex. But again, you see how it was positioned as an annex to really keep the body of the CV to no more than 2 pages. And if you are a more junior professional, then let me really encourage you to keep it to 1 page. Because your CV is not a laundry list of everything that you've done. It is, in fact, showcasing your achievements, the really significant stuff about you. So you don't need to tell everything, and you should be able to keep it to either 1 page for somebody whose work experience is still relatively limited, and 2 pages for somebody who has a more mature career behind them. So there you have it. The notion of the mission statement to grab and to create, to prime the reader's mindset so that they look for some themes in your CV. Of course, you have to make sure the themes are followed through. The notion of clarity, the impact through the outcome words, the fact of using your CV as a preview of not just your competencies, but of course about who you are as a professional, the kind of human being they will interact with if they should hire you, and the fact of calibrating all this so that it's not too long and that you don't lose the attention of your reader and your CV ends up in the bin. So I hope this will prove useful to you. As usual, I would love to hear about how you go about building your CV. Or if you are somebody who has hired others, what were you looking for in a CV? What did you think made for a good CV, something that you did notice? And when you were building your own CV, what do you think what were the tactics, the strategies that you used in order to grab the attention of your reader and make sure you got that all-important interview? Feel free to comment below this video or to email me. My address is appearing on the screen. Thanks you so much for watching. I'll be talking to you next about how to put together a very powerful cover letter so that the combination of the CV and the cover letter really is something that the reader cannot ignore. And again, ahead of discussing how to prepare well for interviews. We'll have probably 2 videos on that coming up a little bit later. So again, thanks you so much for watching and speak to you very soon. Take care and bye-bye.